Hello YouTube chess lovers and my friends, this is Gunjan here. Welcome to the 39th episode of Dirty Chess Tricks. In this episode, I am going to demonstrate a tricky line in the Reti opening against one of the most popular setup by Black, which is oftenly used by all level of chess players, including super grandmasters. With the use of online database, as a Reti player, if you find out that your opponent is regularly employing these lines, then this video provides you a great secret weapon for the tournament practice. The opening arises after the following move order: Knight to f3, d5, c4, c6, g3, Knight to f6 and Bishop to g2. Now, as I have highlighted over here, in the majority of case, Black has these two popular choices. Amongst them, d captures c4 now or any early stage of the opening is outside the scope of this video because we are going to concentrate on the move bishop to g4. However, I do recommend that you go through the opening manual and find out a good line against it. Okay, bishop to g4. So the idea is very simple. Black wants to take out this bishop before he closes the pawn chain with e6, and in some lines Black can sacrifice this bishop and get a very solid position. Here I recommend that you continue with knight to e5, attacking the bishop, and if white can get that bishop without any compensation, then in the long run Black is going to suffer for it. So accordingly, Black has to preserve his light square bishop. There are two popular choices from here. Amongst them, if your opponent continue with bishop to e6, then I have attached a model game in the PGN which will give you a great idea how to handle such a position. But in majority of the cases, Black continue with bishop to f5 as it looks more natural. But in fact, Black has straight away entered into the white tricky camp. The tricky business start with c captures d5, c captures b5, and now this very cunning move knight to c3. Now, as I have highlighted over here, e6 is one of the most popular choice by Black, and that we are going to see in detail. However, if your opponent continue with knight b to d7 or queen to c7, then d4 is a very strong reply, and apart from it, Black can also make two blunder moves which can give white a decisive advantage. For example, if your opponent continues with d4, which again looks very natural in this position, but after that Black is instantly losing with queen to b3. So white is attacking two spots, and most important is white is threatening queen f7 checkmate, something which Black has to defend immediately, and the good way to defend is to play e6. But after that, following sequence will happen on the board: queen captures b7, knight b to d7, knight captures d7, knight captures d7, queen captures e8, queen captures e8, bishop captures e8, pawn captures c3 and pawn captures c3, and just within 13 moves of the game, white emerged with an exchange and a 2-pawn advantage. The second move, knight to c6, is not good either, because after the simple capture on c6 and pawn captures, in the long run this backward c pawn is going to give a great headache to the Black camp. So considering all these options, here the obvious choice for the Black is to play e6, consolidate his position, and what can be the wrong? Well, in chess, some positions are very disruptive, and this is one of the case, because after white's next reply, g4, white is winning in all the lines. First important point, black cannot take this pawn twice. For example, if knight captures g4, knight captures g4 and bishop captures g4, which happened in one of my blitz game, where here the simplest reply is you deliver this queen check, nab the piece and comfortably win the game. So that means black has to move the bishop and the only move left is bishop to g6. And after that, you already guessed it, right? Yup, it's h4. So white has a very simple threat to play the move h5, trapping this bishop, and that means black response are very much limited. As I have shown, black has tried these three options, and let's see each by turn. The first move I want to consider is bishop to d6, which is highestly played in this position. But after the move d4, I think black is in a serious trouble. Black obviously cannot take this knight. The simple reason is after pawn takes, knight to d7, h5, bishop to e4 and f3, that black tower is going down. So that means black has to play either h6 or h5, and whenever this happens on the board, let's say h6 first, then the golden rule you have to remember is always take the bishop immediately, and after pawn takes, you hit out on the g6 square with queen to d3. King to f7 is forced, and now comes the aggressive tactics by white, g5. Okay, some moves are very much forcing. Pawn takes, rook takes, bishop takes. And now it doesn't matter wherever this knight goes. The following disaster will happen. Boom! So not only white is a clear pawn up, but black king is completely misplaced. And we should see what happens if your opponent accepts this piece sacrifice. E captures d5. Well, after that, white obtained the winning advantage with bishop captures d5, king to f8, queen to f3. King cannot move as queen to f7 is a checkmate. And if black block the check with knight, then we have the simple move, bishop captures b7, and white will get two pieces. The third move black can try over here is h5, which is more natural, but after that, our familiar sequence will happen. Knight captures g6, pawn captures g6, and this time around we can play the move g5 first, asking this knight where he wants to go. There are two good locations for the knight. Neither of them provide any satisfaction result for black. If knight to g4, then the simplest is you play queen to d3, attacking on g6, king to f7, and now I think you already guessed it. Yup, our familiar sacrifice, knight captures d5. E captures d5, bishop captures d5 check, king to e7, bishop captures b7, knight b to d7, and after the move queen to e4, white emerge with a clear exchange and a pawn up. I reached this position in one of my rapid game against a 2100 rated opponent, and here my opponent continued with knight to g8, which looks more logical as he can support the g6 pawn with knight to e7. But anyways, I found the another swift target, bishop to h3. If queen to c8 or d7, then knight to d5 is a deadly reply. And if queen to e7, then e4 is a very strong reply. In the game, after a long consideration, my opponent continued with king to f7, which at first sight looks very safe. But after the following aggression, e4, attacking on d5. Kindly note, knight to e7 is not a possibility due to the simple queen check, and after king to g8 and bishop captures e6, black position is completely collapsed. So that's why in the game my opponent here continue with pawn captures e4, but then I give him this rude shock d5. He desperately want to block the position with e5, but I'm afraid it's not going to help him, as after the move bishop check, king to f8, simple move knight captures e4, and black is completely defenseless. He tried knight to e7, and after queen check, he blocked the check with the knight. But this doesn't solve the problem, as after bishop captures f5, pawn captures f5, queen captures f5, and wherever this king goes, on the opposite flank, queen will give the check. For example, in the game, black plays king to e8, I played queen to g6 check, attacking twice on d6, so my opponent plays king to e7, which is close to resignation, as after queen captures g7 check, king to e8 and knight to f6. By force, black has to give up the queen, and after queen captures f6, white can have all kind of fun on the board. So even though bishop to d6 is one of the most popular choice by black, I think is highly inaccurate. Let's look at the second reply by black, h5. So far, whatever you have seen, I think you have a very good idea how to handle such a positions. Okay, in this game, white has delayed the capture on g6, but it doesn't matter. Sooner or later, this is going to happen. White plays the forcing move first, that is g5, asking black knight where he wants to go. And if he goes to the g4, then after queen check, knight to d7, knight captures g6, pawn captures g6, and queen to c2, we have the familiar territory, king to f7, and now, yup, it's knight captures d5, boom boom. Well, black doesn't have any good option, he has to take it, but after that, the simplest sequence is bishop captures d5 check. If king to e8, then queen captures g6, and there's a mate in 2, so black has to play king to e7, and now we can simply give this check. If king to d6, then bishop captures b7 is a very strong reply. So in this game, black plays knight to e5, but after the move d4, he simply resigns, as his king is stuck in the center, his extra piece is going to be lost, and on top of everything, white has a 2-pawn advantage. Well, how about knight f to d7? Well, more or less same story. We are going to capture on g6, pawn captures g6, queen to c2, king to f7, and now the strong reply, knight captures d5, again and again. If bishop to d6, then our knight can come back and white is a healthy pawn up, and if he capture on d5, then white can get the similar sequence, that is bishop captures d5, king to e7, queen to e4 check, king to d6, and bishop captures b7. Last but not least, I think h6 is probably the safest option here for the black. But still, after the move knight captures g6, pawn captures g6, and the move g5, it is only white who is going to have all the fun in this line. We are following a game between two FIDE master where black continue with pawn captures g5, pawn captures g5, rook captures h1, bishop captures h1, and black has a 3 location for the knight. But again, it doesn't matter wherever it goes. White response is very much crushing. In the game, black plays knight to g8, where white responds with the move d5, and you can see the easiest attacking scheme by white. He wants to play queen to d3, e4, blast open the center, and get a great advantage. And funny enough, black cannot do anything about it. For example, in the game, black continue with knight to c6, e4 happen on the board. So 3 times attacking on d5. So black plays d captures e4, counter attacking on d4. But this is just an illusion, as after bishop captures e4, there is a potent threat of bishop captures g6, which black defended with knight g to e7. So already black has a pathetic pawn structure on the king side. And on top of everything, after the move bishop to e3, white maintained his decent advantage. Okay, queen to d7. Very obvious, black wants to castle on the queen side, but white simply doesn't allow him. So he continued with a very energetic play, d5, attacking the knight. And after the following sequence, that is e captures d5, knight captures d5, if black castles, then knight to e7 is a very strong reply. So black continue with knight captures d5, queen captures d5, queen captures d5, bishop captures d5, castle on the queen side, attacking the bishop, and after white castle on the queen side, you can easily see that not only white obtain a 2 bishop, which already threatening some nasties, but in the long run, because black has this double isolated pawn, it is only white who is playing for the win. I have attached rest of the game in the PGN, which will show you how easily white has won this game. That's it guys. I hope you enjoy and learn this wonderful tricky line in the Reti opening. Play the move g4 at this position, shock your opponent, and grab some exciting victories. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment, and I'll meet you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.